Assalamu alaikum. So these slides are related to intersection control. So how do we control the traffic on intersections and what are their different methods and which method to be used in a certain condition will be discussed in these slides. So whenever we put a traffic control device on an intersection, our purpose is that the drivers move through the intersection in an orderly and predictable manner. So everybody knows who will be the next one to move. So when the signal is red for you, you know it's not your turn to move. When you come at a roundabout and you already see a vehicle going in front of you, you know it's not your turn to enter the roundabout. And so everybody is moving in a certain order, and the drivers know this order so that they can predict what the other drivers will do. So a driver who is moving through the roundabout, he may see you waiting on the stop line on your side, but he knows or he can predict that while he is on the roundabout, you will not enter. So this is what we mean by having orderly and predictable movement, and this is what we want through the installation of traffic control devices on the intersection. These devices can be in the form of signals, signs, and markings, and they are used for regulating traffic, meaning regulating their movement, restricting their movement, uh, letting them know when they can move and when they have to stop, guiding their movement, providing them guidance about directions, about their lanes and speeds, warning them if there is a dangerous situation, and channeling the traffic. We discussed them in the previous chapter as well, meaning that you provide them a certain path to go from one point of the intersection to the other point. Channelization or traffic control devices become more important if your intersection is a complex maneuvering area. And again, complex maneuvering means that you have multiple legs, multiple directions which are meeting at the intersection, and they are not meeting at a nearly 90-degree angle. So that makes the intersection more complicated, more complex, and it uh, increases the need for putting traffic control devices on the intersection. Otherwise, you will see intersections which are meeting in 90 degrees, having less traffic, and having less sides. You will see them without many signs and markings. There's a manual which is available uh, to be followed for designing of traffic control devices. The name of the manual is Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. In short, it is known as MUTCD, and the last version of this manual was published in 2012 and it's available on online. The traffic control devices are called effective when they are fulfilling these needs or these criteria. So first of all, the first criteria is the traffic control device must be provided to fulfill a need. So you provide when they are required and where they are required. So you will see on minor streets, on local roads, there are no speed limit signs because they are not required there. Similarly, you will not find lane markings on one lane roads because they are not required. Secondly, they should command attention, meaning they should be placed in such a way that drivers do not have to search for these signs and markings. So you see the lane markings are very obvious, they are very wide, they're very prominent and in a striking color. So when you're going over the road, you can easily see the marking. Same thing with the signboards. Some of them are very big, some of them are very close to the road. So all of this is done to command your attention. They should convey a simple, clear and simple meaning. So the things which are conveyed through these signs and markings should also be clear and simple. They should not be too much text. If you are using any figures, they should be clear. They should be understandable for the drivers. Uh, that's why most of the times we prefer numbers. Okay, because numbers can be easily understood, and sometimes we use symbols like the no parking symbol and so on. Okay, so make sure message is very clear and simple, and it can be easily understood by the drivers. Okay, so something which they know, and it should be one message per device. Do not put a sign which says 100 things. One sign means one is communicating just one message. Same thing with one marking as well. It should command the respect of the road users, meaning that the road users should know that if I don't follow the sign, what will happen to me. So sometimes you see we put these traffic cameras on the signals. So driver knows if I don't follow the traffic signal, I will be punished. Same thing with the speed cameras as well. Another example is you put a warning sign ahead of a curve, so driver can see the curve and he can see the warning sign as well. So he knows if he doesn't follow the warning sign, there can be some consequences for him. Entering the curve on the high speed can be dangerous for him. So in those cases, the sign or the message will command the respect of the road users. And the last thing is we should give enough time for the driver to make a proper response. So if the sign says stop, it should be visible to the driver at a distance where he can stop easily. He requires 200 feet to stop, then the sign should be easily visible from 200 feet, and so on. So all these criteria must be met for a traffic control device to be effective. To achieve the criteria, we play with 5 factors. Okay, and these factors are as follows. It starts with the design of the sign. Design includes the size, the color, and shape of the sign. Okay, so the size I told you earlier, size and color, you know, if the color is prominent, it's striking, so you see yellow markings, even during night they are very striking, and white markings on black asphalt are very striking. Okay, similarly, big signboards, they usually command your attention and they get your respect, that there's a big board in front of me, there should be meaning something. Okay, similarly you see even the signal posts, they change their sign, they change their size. Okay, the bulbs, the lights of the signal, they change their size according to the type of highway, just to command the attention and respect of the road user. Similarly, shape, important signs are in a certain shape. So for example, warning signs are in triangular shape, so if it's a triangular shape sign, then it's something important. So design of the sign is to command attention and respect of the road user, and it also convey the type of message. So red is for stopping and white is for lane marking, and so on. Then placement of the sign, we talked about placing the sign in such a way that it is coming in the line of sight of the driver. We discussed about the cones of vision for the driver. So we had like clear cone of vision and fairly clear cone of vision. So signs should be coming within these cones of visions. Okay, they should not be far from the cone of vision of the driver, because otherwise he will not be able to see it. And secondly, with the placement, you place a sign so that driver is making the proper response at a place where it is required. So take the example of the sign which is saying reduce speed before a curve. Now if you are placing the sign on the start point of the curve, then there's a chance that the driver may not be able to reduce the speed to your required limit when he's entering the curve. So you will see these signs are placed before the curve. So driver can see the sign and he can reduce the speed when he is entering the curve. Okay. Then the operation is very important. What type of traffic operation are you wanting out of this traffic control device? You want the drivers to be in their lanes, so you give them lane markings. You want the driver to see the direction for each lane, so you put the direction marks on the pavement. You want the driver to see the routes, different routes to different areas, you will see these big signboards which are showing the different routes, and so on. So traffic operation, what type of traffic operation you want, that will determine what type of sign or traffic control device you are using. But you have to make sure the traffic operation is handled in a consistent and uniform way. Okay, so a particular sign which is used in a specific case is used all over the region for the same case. For example, if you have two main highways crossing each other with more traffic, you will see them usually uh, having a signal, not a roundabout. So next time you see two big highways crossing, you should be having a signal there as well. Okay, and so on and so forth. Maintenance: these traffic control devices need maintenance, regular maintenance for their legibility, meaning to maintain their message, okay, to convey the message properly. So traffic control, for example, the signals, you need to change their bulbs regularly. If you have lane marking, they must be repainted after every few years. With traffic signs, you have to change their boards every now and then, and so on. Then you have to maintain uniformity in the design. You cannot put a stop sign in red color somewhere and then in blue color somewhere else. Okay, the devices should be in uniform color, size and shape so that the drivers can easily recognize it. Okay, like I gave you the example, triangular sign. Triangular signs are normally for warnings, but you put a warning in triangular shape in one place and then in another shape you put them as a square, then it will create problems for the driver to recognize which sign is for what purpose. So design should be uniform, and it should be used for similar traffic and geometric conditions. Okay, so for example, when you have low traffic you use stop signs, when you have high traffic you use roundabouts and so on. Okay, similarly, when you are providing a curve, then you reduce the speed, you put a new speed limit sign and so on. So you have to maintain the uniformity in the use of the sign and the design of the sign. Okay, what type of intersection control devices we have? First of all, you have to keep the objectives in mind when you are putting the devices. The first objective is to reduce the number of conflict points. And we discussed earlier, conflict points are those points where two vehicles can meet each other. So try to have uh, as a small number of conflict points as possible, and then you have to make sure the driver is making one decision at a time. These are the two things we discussed in the previous chapter as well. Okay, so when the driver is at one point, he is only worried about one thing, maybe changing the lane, maybe one driver, one other vehicle coming from other direction and so on. They have to keep this in mind. There are 6 possible traffic control devices that we are going to discuss, and the choice of these devices depend upon the type of intersection and the volume. There are other factors as well, but we will discuss them later on. But these are two main factors: the type of device, the type of intersection, and the volume of traffic on the intersection. Now, the first one we are going to discuss is a yield sign. So yield sign is basically given to the driver to slow down. In Bahrain, we call them give way sign as well. So the driver is required to slow down and give the right of way to the vehicle which is coming from the other direction. Okay, so it is normally used on minor road which is intersecting a major road. So the guy from the minor road has to slow down, and it can be also given when you are making a right turn. Okay, so the driver who is making the right turn and coming onto another road, you can give him a yield sign, so he will slow down and he will only enter the main road if there is no vehicle coming from the other direction. And it is used when you do not have any acceleration lane for the right turning. I'll show you what does it mean later on. But a yield or give way sign has these dimensions, and the dimensions get bigger as according to the type of road. On roads with high speeds, we make it bigger because drivers going at high speed need more time. So in order to get their attention earlier, we make them bigger. So you see the dimension, there are 3 numbers given. So these are the sides of these the triangle. Okay, the three sides of the triangle. Okay, so basically it's an equilateral triangle. So you can see that this is a giveaway sign for a major road intersecting a minor road, and this is a giveaway sign for a right turning driver. And you can see I was talking about the intersection, the acceleration lane for right turning. So if this lane was continuing like this in this direction, so this driver has a chance to turn like this and then move on to the main road whenever it is possible. In that case, yield sign is not necessary. But in the present case, there is no extra lane for him, so he has to yield at this point for the other driver. Then we have a stop sign. We also call it a two-way stop sign. Okay, because out of the four directions of the highway of the intersection, the stop sign is provided on two of them. So on a stop sign, you have to stop whether there is a vehicle coming from the other direction or not. And stop signs should be used when they are necessary because they may cause unnecessary inconvenience for the drivers. There's a stop sign, it requires you to stop, but there's no vehicle on the other side, so you are stopping unnecessarily. So use stop signs wherever they are required. Like we said at the start, the traffic control device should fulfill a need. Uh, they should not be used at signalized intersections because then they will conflict with the light of the intersection. Maybe it's indicating green, but there's a stop sign, then there's a conflict. So we avoid that. Uh, Secondly, you should not use it on through roadways of expressways. So if there are through lanes on the expressways, arterials, so don't use them there on through roads. Okay, especially when they are on arterials and expressways, because drivers are not supposed to stop there. They're going at high speeds. These stop signs are used when there's a major road crossing a minor road, and you don't want to put a signal there. Okay, and the speed on the major road is very high, so you put a stop sign for the minor road. And it is also used because you may not have enough sight distance, so the view is restricted, and because of that there are too many crashes happening, too many accidents. Crashes means accidents. So at those situations you use a stop sign for the minor road, because the guys coming from the major road coming at high speed and you don't have much sight distance to see them. Okay, these are dimensions for the stop signs. Okay, so these are the vertical and horizontal. Okay, two dimensions. In Bahrain we use circular signs, so in that case that these dimensions will become the diameter. Okay, and again you can see they're using different sizes according to the type of the road. The next one is a multi-way stop sign, which means that vehicles coming from any approach have to stop at the intersection before they enter it. And it is used when you have two roads crossing with approximately equal volume, but obviously one of them will be higher than the other, but they are the difference is not so much. Now where do you put these multi-way stop signs? So there are some criteria given. If you fulfill the criteria, all of them, then you can put a multi-way stop sign on the intersection. So first criteria is the number of accidents or crashes. It should be 5 or more. The second criteria is number of vehicles coming from the major street, the street which has slightly higher volume than the other. So the total number of vehicles per hour from both approaches should not be less than 300 vehicles per hour in the uh, in the peak 8 hours of the day. Okay, for the hours which are normally the working hours during the day, in those 8 hours the volume coming from both directions of the major road should be more than 300 vehicles per hour. And for the minor road, for the same 8 hours, the working hours you have, the combined volume of pedestrians and vehicles. Okay, pedestrians and vehicles combined should not be less than 200 units per hour. Okay, so there will be some pedestrians crossing, you have to count them, and there will be some vehicles coming from both ends of the both approaches of the main minor road, you have to count them as well, and then you add them, and they should not be less than 200 units per hour. Then you can put a multi-way stop sign there. The other criteria is delay. So the delay on minor street should not be less than 30 seconds per vehicle in the maximum hour or in the peak hour. Okay, delay should not be less than 30 seconds per vehicle in the peak hour or the maximum hour. Now these requirements can be reduced if the speed on the major street is more than 40 miles per hour. Then instead of fulfilling these requirements, if you fulfill 30% of them, then it's all right as well. Sorry, you can reduce the requirement by 30%. Okay, so instead of having 300 vehicles, if you have 70% of 300 vehicle, but the speed is more than 40 miles per hour, you can still put a multi-way stop sign there. Okay, so the volume requirements can be reduced by 30% if the speed on the highway is more than 40 miles per hour on the major route. And let's say if if the safety or volume criteria is not met fully, so the values which you have set, 5 accidents and 300 vehicles per hour for major street, 200 units per hour for minor street, you do not meet them up to this point, but you meet 80% of all of them. Okay, 80% of accidents, 80% of volume on the major street, and 80% of vehicles plus pedestrians on the minor street. And then that is also enough to put a multi-way stop sign there. Okay, but this is the 80% of these numbers, not the reduced numbers if because of the speed. Okay, so if you have already reduced your requirement by 30% because the speed was more than 40 miles per hour, then you cannot apply this 80% criteria here. Okay, then you must meet the number which you are getting after 30% reduction, and then the number of crashes should be 5 or more. Okay, but if this criteria about the speed is not applied, then if you are getting up to 80% of volume and crashes, then that is enough along with the delay criteria to put a multi-way stop sign there. Okay, then if the volume goes higher than these values, you can look for roundabouts and signals. Now let us look at this example. We have a minor road approaching a major road. The minor road has 75 vehicles per hour on each approach for 8 hours of the day, and the major road which it is crossing has 145 vehicles per hour for the same 8 hours on each approach. We have to find if we can put a multi-way stop sign here or not. The pedestrian volume for minor street is 40 pedestrians per hour. Okay, so the volume of vehicles and volume for pedestrians is given. The average delay for minor street is 37 seconds per vehicle, and the average 4 crashes per year are observed, which they are looking to reduce by putting a multi-way sign there. So let us see how we can handle that. First of all, we have the crashes given per year, which is 5. Now our criteria for crashes, the crashes given are 4, and my criteria is 5. It must be 5 or more, so this criteria is not met. Okay, then the other criteria was number of vehicles coming from both approaches of the major route. So from one approach I have 145, so 145 into 2 will give me 290 vehicles per hour. And so the criteria here was 300, so you are getting less than 300, so this criteria is not met. Then how many vehicles and pedestrians I have on the minor road, So I have 75 vehicles on each approach, so 75 into 2 plus 40 pedestrians crossing it. So 2 into 75 will give you 150 plus 40 will give you 190. Okay, here the criteria was to meet 200. Okay, and I'm not meeting that, so this criteria is also not met. And the next criteria was how much delay we have on the minor street. This is 37 seconds per vehicle. In this case the limiting value was 30, so this criteria is met. Okay, so we are not meeting the volume and crash criteria, but if you look at the numbers and compare with the criterion number, for example here it is 4 and the number we wanted was 5, here it is 290 and the number we wanted is 300, and 190 and 200. So these numbers which we are achieving are more than 80% of the required criteria. The crashes and volume are more than 80% of the required criteria. If you calculate 80% of 200, it will be less than 190. Similarly, if you calculate 80% of 300, it will be less than 290, and 80% of 5 will be less than 4. So basically the numbers which you have are more than 80% for all the volume and crash criteria. Then in that case you can still provide a multi-way stop sign. Another method of controlling the traffic at the intersection is by providing channelization, and we have discussed about channelization in the last chapter. It's basically providing a path for the vehicles to go into different movements through the intersection. So where do we provide channelization? The main criteria is the traffic. Okay, if you have a lower type intersection with less traffic, you can manage it with without any channelization. I already gave you the example. You may come out on a local street and you will not find any markings or stop lines there. Okay, but if you have high traffic intersections, you go to main highways. Even in Bahrain, you go to highways like Sheikh Salman Highway, Sheikh Zayed Highway, you will find the intersections are highly channelized. So you will find markings and stop lines and roundabouts and signals. Everything is there. Okay, because on intersections with high traffic, there's a greater need to separate and regulate conflicting movements because there are so many of them. Okay, so since there are so many, if you do not regulate them, if they do not move properly, then there are high chances of accidents, and there are chances that they will be conflicting each other, and then they will be blocking the whole traffic. They will create a traffic jam. So we put some lines here, some traffic islands here to control them. On low traffic volume intersections, even without channelization, since the traffic is low, there are less chances of accidents, and even if a vehicle comes in front of another vehicle and they are blocked for a few seconds, it may not cause a lot of harm to other drivers because no, there are not so many other drivers there. You can see here these are two examples from Bahrain. So you can see the one on the right hand side is highly channelized, and you can see why, because it has so much traffic. You can see the traffic coming from different directions. Okay, so we are employing a yellow box here. You can see the stop lines here. Okay, this is a stop line here. Okay, the yellow box is here, the median is here. Okay, and you can see the traffic islands are here for right turning on both sides. Okay, so these are all different forms of channelization. If these vehicles were not there, you would be able to see the arrow marking on the lanes as well. Okay, so all these things are there. In comparison to that, if you come to uh, this intersection or this intersection, I took it from a local street. This picture is from a local street in Islamabad. So you can see there's not much being put here in the form of marking or islands or anything. Okay, it's just a plain and simple intersection. Okay, another way of controlling traffic is roundabouts. Roundabouts are used to decrease the speed of the drivers when they are moving through the intersection. So we want them to move at low speed, and they ask the driver to yield or to give way to other vehicles which are already in the intersection. And secondly, we do not allow vehicles to move straight through the intersection like this. This is not allowed. Okay, every vehicle will be moving in this manner, in the circular manner. So there is a deflection for every vehicle. Deflection meaning they are deflected from a straight path. Okay, deflection basically means that they are not moving in a straight path, they are deflected from the straight path when they are entering the intersection. So even if they have an accident, the damage of the accident will be less, because if two vehicles are going in a straight path, they hit each other, then they will cause a more severe angle between them. We talked about it in the last chapter as well. Roundabouts are used when we have roads with moderate traffic. Okay, I already gave you the volumes for roundabout in the previous chapter, so those volumes are known as moderate volumes. Okay, and if roundabouts do not go up to their capacity, their delay is also less than signalized intersections. Okay, but if they reach up to capacity, then obviously they will have a long queue. You can see them in big roundabouts in Bahrain. And because they are having less conflict points, okay, because the only conflict point is when you are entering the roundabout, that's it. There is no other conflict point. Okay, you are going through the roundabout, then it's your right of way. Okay, you will be given the right of way by the other vehicle, so nobody is conflicting you until you exit. And when you are exiting, you are the only one exiting from this lane. Okay, so there's only one conflict point which you will have when you are entering the roundabout, if you do not judge your gap appropriately. So it has less conflict points, it has lower speeds, and so because of that, the safety provided by the roundabout is much higher than any other type of intersection. Roundabouts provide higher safety, means less number of accidents than any other intersection. Then the last type of intersection control device is a signal. It is considered as the most effective way of controlling the signal or controlling the intersection. Why? Because with the signal, you are not leaving anything for the driver. You are telling the driver when to slow down and when to move and when to stop. So basically controlling everything that a driver can do while he's approaching towards the intersection. Okay, so that's why it's considered as the most effective way, because nothing is left to the judgment of the driver. Signals, obviously they eliminate many conflict points because movements are happening in different times. Okay, one movement, let's say this straight movement is happening, this one, the one which can cross it, is blocked by the signal, right? It's not happening. So obviously this conflict point will not there will be no conflict point here, because only one movement is happening. So again, it reduces a lot of conflict points, but obviously you are then increasing the delay to the vehicles. Okay, because you may have gap on the other side, but still, since your signal is red, you cannot go. So if the signal remains red for 40 seconds for you, these all are you are having 40 seconds of delay. Okay, so which is more than what you would have on other intersections. So other intersections, you will see the gap and you will move. Okay, you don't have to wait for a specific time. So signals are used because of high delay conditions. Signals are used when they are absolutely needed. There are many factors given in your textbook about the criteria for putting signals. The most important criteria is the approach volume to the intersection. Okay, usually if it is more than 25,000 vehicles per hour, then you go for the signal. Okay, there can be other factors for which you can put a signal there. For example, pedestrian crossings. You may have seen signals on pedestrian crossings in the middle of the road as well. Okay, so it's just for crossing of the pedestrians. So similarly, if you are having pedestrian crossings in high number on intersections, then you can provide a signal there to make sure these pedestrians cross safely. Secondly, there are too many accidents happening because of some other type of intersection control device. So you have a stop sign, but because of that stop sign there are too many accidents happening. Okay, so one of the most effective way to reduce these accidents is by putting a traffic signal there.